Door County Media Group and the Door County Daily News. I'm Tim Coles. It's season finale time of Ask a Farmer, brought to you by the Door County Farm Bureau, cultivating for a better future. We're joined right now by David Schartner here at Schartner's Farm Market in Sturgeon Bay. And thank you so much for having us here today. And tell us a little bit about Schartner's Farm in the market that's in front of where we are right now.
Well, my wife and I bought the farm in 1982 from my father, and he started farming here in 1964. And he was a dairy farmer, and when we started out, we were dairy farming for 5 years. And I was never a big fan of 365 days a year,
Yep.
twice a day, so we decided to go into fruit and vegetables, and we started the market in 1986. The original building got started.
And what was that startup like for you? Because obviously you got to find a home for all those cows, you got all that equipment, things like that, and that's just to get rid of what you used to do. But now, as you know, we look behind us, we have all these trees behind us, you got fields for pumpkins and things like that. What was that transition like for you and your family?
It took quite a few years to transition, because by the time we planted the trees, you're talking 5 to 10 years before you get a lot of production. And see, when we got out of the dairy business, there was such a thing, the government bought us out. It was called the whole herd buyout.
Okay.
So all the cattle had to go to the beef end, and then we got paid so much for the milk that we were supposed to produce.
Okay.
So it was a long transition into fruit and vegetables.
So, you know, you fast forward 5 to 7 years, you have mature trees and things like that. Where does the farm market play into the equation?
The farm market is a big part of what we do now, because we're retailing most of our produce, and that's where we're making most of our living on, is growing and selling our produce that we grow. So it's a big part of it.
Now, take us to the day, you know, from beginning to the end. You start with maple syrup, we got kind of the end product here behind us. What do you do in between in terms of the things that you grow and the things that you produce?
Oh, it's a challenge from the April all the way till now. It's just, we start planting in end of April, 1st of May. We got all the planting to do, the strawberries and the trees. And then we go into planting our crops, our vegetable crops in the middle of May. And then it's taking care of them, keeping the weeds out and diseases and that sort of thing. So it's a challenge every day for about 6 months to get everything done and right.
But it's not 365 days, right? Like you mentioned with the dairy farms. You got 180, 190 days, maybe a little bit longer when you figure in the ramp down and stuff like that. And I guess when did you know that you because it had to have been a hard decision to get out of the dairy farming business to go into fruits and vegetables and stuff. How long did it take for you to be like, you know what, this was definitely the right decision?
Oh, it didn't take too long. A few years after we got rid of the cows, you kind of missed it. But my wife never really liked the dairy end, because she never grew up on a farm.
Okay.
So she had a rude awakening on how farming life was. But she did very well with it and kept going with it. But she liked the market end, the retail. She bakes pies. She's got one of the best pies in Door County, some people say. But she started the pie business, and it's a very good part of our business.
Yeah. And a lot of fruit and vegetable farmers, like, there's that sigh of relief, because you get there, for example, you have cherries, so you get that blossom, and then you wait till July, and then it's harvest time, pick your owns and stuff like that. A lot of farmers that do that, there's that, okay, and then maybe they might have apples, but you got a lot of stuff going on before that and after that as well. What is that like for you, where, the moment you kind of be able to exhale from one crop, you're kind of going heads first into the next crop?
Well, it is that way, but cherries is a big deal on this farm and a lot of farms in Door County. And that one you do gotta, you do take a big sigh of relief because you get a little break between that and apples, but we got the sweet corn and the vegetables, But yeah, the cherry season is definitely, you can take a big sigh when you get that done.
Yeah. And the one, really cool aspect that you have going back to the farm market is that, there's always that kind of front of the house mentality, back of the house mentality, where, a lot of farmers, it's all about back of the house, right? Work the fields and stuff like that too. But you and your employees also kind of have to turn on that charm for all the visitors that you have going to the farm market. What is it like for you to be able to kind of meet customers where they're at in the process and kind of show them, hey, here's where cherries come from, here's where apples come from, and asparagus and so on?
We do get a lot of questions, about how, the cherries are growing and apples are growing, and all the family and employees, we all try to educate the public on growing it. And we had somebody in this year, and the one lady goes, "Are these this year's apples?" And the lady behind her goes, "What do you mean by that?" Well, I said, "A lot of the apples in the grocery stores yet, this is early, are probably from last year." And she was just like, "Really?"
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, we get a lot of silly questions over the years.
But that one's not as silly as, you kind of had to stand up for that person. Like, no, if you go to the grocery store, some of those apples are last year's apples.
But we also had somebody call and they said, "Are your pick-your-owns local?" No, we bring them in from Washington and hang them on the tree, and then you can come and pick them. It's
like
questions
Christmas.
like that just are kind of crazy. We get silly questions.
But you have to laugh at it a little bit, but also enjoy the fact that you're part of that journey for people that they could drive by, they see an opportunity here as well, and they're able to come away not just with a bag full of fruit and vegetables and stuff like that, but also maybe some knowledge that they never would have known otherwise.
Well, that's true. Especially in the pick your own end, to go out into the orchard and see the fruit, and pick it, and try it off the tree. It's a good experience for a lot of people that have never done something like that.
Now we're like 6 months removed from when you're opening up, and you guys just closed a few days ago, I believe. What's kind of the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks look like for you, so you can take that really big sigh of relief?
Well, right at the moment we're trying to, winterize sprayers. We're cleaning up the plastic in our vegetables. Got to get that all full. Weeds in the strawberries. We got some tilling, grass cutting. So we got 2-3 weeks of getting things kind of organized and put away. All the equipment sitting around here yet. So get it ready before the snow flies.
And then when we think about next year, when do you start kind of getting that itch that, okay, we got to start getting things ready to go, so once May comes around, we're able to open the doors to the farm market and have some fresh fruits and vegetables and pies and things of that nature for people?
Well, we start, in February, we start pruning trees. Maybe in January if the snow's not too deep and it's not too cold. But yeah, we do some pruning then. We work in the woods for our sap, checking sap lines and stringing new tubing and that sort of thing. So that's January, February if the weather permits. And then once you get to March, then we're making syrup. But we do all our seed ordering and stuff in December and January. Kind of go through the seed orders, for the following year.
Now, obviously, this question is going to be a lot. It's going to be similar to, hey, what's your favorite kid or son-in-law for that matter? Is we'll get Josh in here pretty quick. What's your favorite thing on your farm that you grow on a year in, year out basis?
Favorite thing, I guess, pumpkins.
Pumpkins. So right now we're sitting next to the kind of the fruit of the whole year. You're looking forward to seeing these kind of come out.
Right, because I know it's getting close to the end of the year, and September is our biggest. September and the first week of October are our biggest pumpkin, sales, because like these decorator pumpkins, people like to put them out in September.
Yep.
So they're there for the whole fall. And we get a lot of landscapers and businesses that, you know, decorate their business, and they like to do that sometimes right after Labor Day.
Yep.
Hey, when are you going to start pumpkins? Well, I kind of like pumpkins, and this year we had a great year of pumpkins, so that makes it so much better.
And we'll get to Josh. We had Jaden here, your grandson, just a little bit ago, but he had somebody, I think, ride for him and stuff like that. What does it mean to you? I mean, you bought this farm from your parents, I believe you said, and now you kind of have that next generation coming up behind you. What does it mean to you to have that next generation kind of learning the tips of the trade and stuff like that and potentially take things over?
Well, it's very important because I really want to keep the family farm in the family. You know, Josh has got some younger grandkids that they're here working all summer, and Jaden, he's been here as a kid and grew up on this, and he always said he wanted to stay on this farm. So we definitely want to turn it over to the younger generation.
And Josh, we'll have you kind of come in here. We'll have you stand next to David. You can kind of talk through his microphone and stuff like that. And Josh, were you a farmer by trade before you kind of married into the family, or is this kind of like a, hey, just so you know, if you marry into this family, this is just part of the deal now?
I actually grew up on a dairy farm too.
Okay.
And then we got out of that when I was 12. So I grew up on the farm around animals and equipment and everything. So it was kind of the same farm style, you know. So it was nothing really new to me. I have relatives that are farmers, so I've been around them my whole life. And as I started going with Chris, I kind of started up here and helped out a little bit. And just over time, worked my way, learning. It's a lot different than dairy farming,
Yeah.
obviously, you know, with the crops and everything.
What was the biggest thing that you had to learn when you started working here?
The biggest thing I had to learn was probably there's a lot of crops to take care of. Okay, you got cherries, apples. You start with the asparagus in the spring, maple syrup, and you get all that going. And just taking care of each separate vegetable or fruit it's pretty important. You know, to keep everything watered and irrigated, and you know, keep all the bugs out and everything. You know, so.
I was gonna say we got we got warplanes flying overhead. So, and you kind of bring up a good point, just because of the variety of different things. And David, you can probably talk to this as well. You know, the common phrase, "What's good for the goose is usually good for the gander," and stuff like that. But potentially, some of the things that you might do for asparagus and cherries isn't necessarily some of the same things you need to keep in mind for apples and pumpkins as well, I would imagine.
Oh no, it's all whole different ball game as far as diseases and insects and planting. But this year we hired a drone to spray our pumpkin field 3 times in August,
Okay.
and just for the powdery mildew, which is what kills the plant, and you get poor stems, you know, if it goes into the stem. So that was something we were looking at last year, was getting a drone, but we found somebody in Door County that had one,
Yep.
and he was willing to spray our pumpkins. So that really worked out nice for us.
Is that technology piece maybe the biggest difference that has kind of occurred over the last 5-10 years, would you say?
Yes. But I'm not into that technology stuff. Younger generations may have to get into it more so. I'm still old school.
I mean, there's a lot of technology that we haven't got into yet that we could.
Yep.
Just little by little, you know, with the drone, obviously. You know, that was incredible. That was a big help for the crops of pumpkins and sweet corn that it sprayed, and so it was, as you can see, it was a great year for pumpkins.
Great year for pumpkins.
Keeping the weeds
And
under
Josh,
control.
what does it mean to you to kind of be a part of the lineage now, with you know Schartner's below you kind of, and then also being able to work with David and other members of the family?
Oh, I think it's great. A lot of people that come here say, "Oh, you get to work with your family all summer and your kids." You know, it's a lot of fun. You know, and some people say, "Oh, it can be difficult working with family on a business," but really, it's there's so much to do on a farm that you don't have any time to really be upset about something or get on somebody or get mad, you know. And everybody works great together, you know, between the family and the employees that we have. You know, we all get along, and it's a fast summer. It's a long summer, but it's a fast summer. I mean, the days fly by because there's so much to do on the farm.
And how many acres are we sitting on right now?
Well, we farm about 200 acres total.
Okay.
You
Well, you got 200 acres that disappeared too if you're really ticked off at somebody.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Yep.
well, yeah, we got 150 right here, and then
Okay.
we rent another
Okay.
52, and then
Gotcha.
our sapwoods is another 35 acres.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
yeah, we got about 200 acres total
All right.
right here.
Well, we'll swap Josh out for Jaden. We'll get Jaden in here now. Now that he's back.
Oh, Andy back. He just goes.
And Jaden, what's it like for you working with Grandpa now?
Oh, it's fun most of the time.
And what's been maybe the biggest thing that you've learned, you know, working here on a daily basis and getting a feel for, you know, the different things that go into operating not just a farm but a business?
No, I mean it's a lot of work, but I mean the risk is for the reward, and you got land to call your own.
And you know, is it kind of, you know, in terms of dividing out jobs and stuff like that, does everybody kind of do a little bit of everything? Or David, what do you kind of primarily do, and Jaden, what do you kind of primarily do?
I mean during the summer it's mainly in the store for me.
Okay.
I pretty much run I guess you could say inside of the market.
Okay.
You know, he does all the ordering of all the supplies and things like that. Helping at the cashier, you know, run short people, which this fall we did.
Yep.
And myself, I'm outside most of the time.
Okay.
I'd rather be back here working in the fields and out front.
Okay.
But so, you know, a lot of times when I get in there, we get so many regular customers,
Yeah.
and then they want to sit and talk. You know,
Yep.
5 minutes gone there, 5 minutes here, and a lot of times there isn't enough time in the day to just sit and chit chat.
Yeah. Jane, we were talking to David earlier about how sometimes you have people asking questions that they're not bad questions. They're just questions that, you know, if you're not around the industry or if you didn't grow up on a farm, you may not know. What are some of the best questions that you've had to answer inside the farm market?
You mean the funniest or the best questions?
One of each.
We got people that up until what day we close ask if they can go pick cherries.
Okay,
Or
that's
if
a little
we-
bit different. That's
or if
about
we
a
have-
couple of months.
If we have asparagus in the fall or things like that, but no, I think a lot of them are. I mean, a lot of the questions are generally pretty good. They'll ask what times of the year do things come, and then they kind of figure it out themselves normally as to when they should plan their trips up or when they should be stopping in for certain things, especially with the fruit wise. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of the stuff that we order in we'll have year round, so.
And what kind of pride, Jaden, do you take being kind of that window into the farm experience, not just indoor county, but really in all of agriculture? Because, you know, you have people coming up from big cities like Chicago and Minneapolis and things like that. This is their farm that they might go to every year or once every now and then. What kind of pride do you take being that introduction to farm life for a lot of people?
Well, it's just kind of neat that we're just eye-opening for some people where they've never seen anything like an orchard, or some of them haven't even really seen farms necessarily. So it's kind of neat just be able to open up their world for them a little bit, I guess you could say, instead of concrete.
And then finally, now that we're officially in the off season, what are you looking forward to doing now that maybe even a couple of weeks ago you weren't able to do?
Something besides in the store.
Bow
Working-
hunting.
You
working
got
out-
bow hunting, right?
Yeah.
Or even working outside for me, rather than just
Okay.
being in the store every day. It's, you know, you can go outside and cut grass like I was doing before. Kind of nice to do something different.
Well, awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much. Josh, you're out of camera, but we'll have you come on in just so everybody can say hi to you and bye to you one last time. Thank you so much for being our final Ask a Farmer segment for the 2025 season, and giving us a little bit of a peek inside your operation. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Been watching the Door County Daily News and the Ask a Farmer segment brought to you by the Door County Farm Bureau. Thanks for watching.